Isaac and Abimelech. This is chapter 26 of Genesis. I already have the bookmark out because I've started learning how to do this after videos upon videos of the Bible. Abimelech is a king that we saw earlier in the Bible. I had no idea he had this much presence in the beginning. And also, we're halfway through Genesis. We're halfway through the first book. I'm looking right now, and I'm hoping it stops soon because I'm already on chapter 50. 26, 52 would be, it is! Exodus! I'm here! That was exactly, we're over halfway through. 50 is the last chapter of Genesis. I've already done half the work for 1/50th of the Bible. How many books are in the Bible? No one knows. I think it's like 100 and something. We'll never know until we get to the end, I guess. I won't have counted. I'll look it up if I remember. Let's find out what happens with Isaac and Abimelech. What could they possibly have to offer that we haven't? What could be more exciting than Abraham or Noah or Jacob and Esau? Maybe that's why no one talks about whatever this chapter is. What does Abimelech do? Why is he in here? How does he get so much attention? What we know is that Esau just sold his birthright to Jacob, which are Isaac's children. So this is Isaac and Abimelech. And we're coming back to Jacob and Esau. I know there's more to that story. So we'll have to find out what happens here. Now, there was a famine in the land, besides the previous famine in Abraham's time. It specifies that. That's nice that they do that. Don't get that confused with the other famine. This is a new famine. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar. We've talked about the Philistines before. They're kind of like the enemies or the bad guys in a bunch of these stories. I don't know why they're so friendly or they're not portrayed as the bad guys yet. Because the Philistines are the one, I mentioned this before, but it's the ones who have the Goliath in David and Goliath. Eventually we'll see him as a Philistine. But Abraham and his line seem to be on good terms with them. So the Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you, and I will bless you." It's so nice that God is still coming to deliver personal messages to people. It's strange that despite being a completely consistent being, he doesn't do that anymore. Unless you believe he does, which is something that can't be argued against. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all of these lands, and will confirm the oath. Why did I say that? Because I was reading the whole sentence. And will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and will give them all these lands, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed me, and did everything I required of him, keeping my commands, my decrees, and my instructions. So Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," because he was afraid to say, "She is my wife." We remember that story, don't we? That's when Abraham told both Egyptian kings. Wait, is that why? No, Abimelech's not here yet. Abimelech was one of the people from that story. He was one of the ones who got cursed from God, despite being lied to by Abraham, because he took his wife slash half-sister as his own, I think as his own wife, not as like a sex slave or a concubine, but as his own wife. God didn't like that, despite the fact that he knew the king didn't know. He thought, the men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful. Wait, I thought he was repeating what Abraham did and said. Is he literally just doing the same thing? When the men of that place, yeah, that is it. It is just Isaac is doing the same thing that his father did. Does he even know? He wasn't born then. Is God feeding him the strategy? How do they all end up doing the same thing? When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. Caressing. I didn't know they caressed in the Bible. This is very similar to the story of David and Bathsheba, which we'll see later. He sees her bathing from a window. He sees her from afar, from a distance. I guess we'll find out exactly what he sees once we get there. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She really is your wife." Why did you say she's my... What? Why is Abimelech saying this? Abimelech already had this exact same trick pulled on him by Abraham, Isaac's father. Is this the same Abimelech? Is it a different guy? It's been many years. Maybe he forgot after decades of peace and quiet away from Abraham and the God who curses him for taking people's wives on accident. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She really is your wife." The indignancy. "She really is your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?" Isaac answered him, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account of her." Well, here we are again. Oh, Abimelech, you never learn. Why do we not talk about this story? This is hilarious. This could have been in sermons at church. Then Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us?" That's the same thing he said. That's the exact same thing he said in the previous books. "What is this you have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. Why did you let that happen? We could have felt really guilty for what you did." I hate feeling guilty. That is a thing. I mean, there's lots of people. I have friends who have told me there's like so many things that they will tolerate and that they're okay with, like fear, sadness, anxiety, all these different things. But I know multiple people who say their least favorite feeling or emotion is guilt. They say that is the worst one of all of them. And yeah, it's bad. I mean, I don't know if I'd say it's the worst one. Like, I would say, I don't know, unbridled mourning is pretty bad. Is that the correct use of the word unbridled? I'm going to have to look that up later. Hopefully I used it correctly. Might be wrong. But, you know, and I mean, guilt is awful. It sucks. I guess I'm not very apologetic about much. So Abimelech gave orders to all the people. "Anyone who harms this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Harsh. Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold. Because the Lord blessed him. The Lord blessed him it's like World of Warcraft. He just like made 100 times growth. It was like really intense Animal Crossing. The man became rich, and Isaac? The man became rich, and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. That's a little repetitive, but okay. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. So is he making enemies? No, they're just jealous of him. That's why isn't envy one of the 10 commandments? Oh, we'll find out soon. We'll find out whether or not that's okay to be. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug up in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up, filling them with earth. That's also kind of a bad thing to do. Why would they do that? Doesn't everyone benefit from wells, just having water? It's not just Isaac taking it all for himself. Is he that rich that he only uses the wealth for himself? Does he own the wells and control them, but he hoards it and he doesn't give it to anyone else? Because that's not very moral. I would say that's a bad way for a God-fearing man to behave. But I don't know. God permits a lot of questionable or unethical behavior in the Bible. I feel like that's something we can all agree. That's a middle ground we can agree on, right? People do some terrible things. So the wells were stopped up with earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Move away from us. You have become too powerful for us." Wait, so he's worried about like insulting or harming this guy, but he's fine with banishing him, especially when he knows, God's just creeping around over Isaac's shoulder all the time, waiting to smite. Just give me a reason. Give me a reason to smite you. Give me a reason to smite. So Isaac moved away from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar, where he settled. Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the time of his father Abraham, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died. And he gave them the same names his father had given them. The wells had names, and he gave them to him. I guess he just remembered what they were, because I don't think Isaac was much of a writer, or that they made records. Did they? I don't know. Maybe I'm just making claims out of nowhere. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well of fresh water there. But the herders of Gerar quarreled with those of Isaac and said, "The water is ours!" So he named the well Esek, because they disputed him. I guess you're supposed to know if you spoke the language of the time, or if you speak the languages the Bible. What language was the Bible originally written in? Hebrew? I don't know. Latin? No, not Latin. That's too late. Hebrew. It was written in Hebrew. So I guess those words probably mean meaning, because they don't explain it. That like because the herders named the well, or because the herders said the water is ours, he named the well Esek. Or it says because they disputed with him. Because they disputed with him over the ownership of the well, he named the well Esek. What does that mean? Then they dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sitnah. Why? Why did he do that? He moved on from there and dug another well. And no one quarreled over it. That's funny. He named it Rehoboth, saying, now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish in the land. Third time's a charm. Quarreled over one well, quarreled over a second. Third one worked. Thank you, Lord. The well is called Rehoboth. From there, he went up to Beersheba. That night, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Oh, he does say that a lot. He does say, I'm the God of the father Abraham. I remember that phrase. I didn't know from where, but I think that's said a bunch of times. It's the first time I have noticed it being said. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. Even though he's dead, God keeps his promises, apparently. Haven't seen a rainbow in a while. Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well. There's a lot of wells being dug in this chapter. Meanwhile, Abimelech had come to him from Gerar with Ahuzath. Man, these names really trip you up sometimes. So Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzath, his personal advisor, and Phicol, that sounds like an over-the-counter drug, and Phicol, the commander of his forces. Isaac asked them, why have you come to me, since you were hostile to me, and sent me away? So maybe this is like the relationship between the Philistines is starting to sour a little bit. It's getting a little bitter. They answered, we saw clearly that the Lord was with you. So we said, there ought to be a sworn agreement between us and you. Let us make a treaty with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we did not harm you. There it is. Like, remember, we didn't harm you, so please don't sick the Lord on us. The Lord thy God, but always treated you well and sent you away peacefully. And now you are blessed by the Lord. That is true. They did argue over the well. There's that. But otherwise, a pretty peaceful send-off. Isaac then made a feast for them. And they ate and drank. Early the next morning, the men swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they went away peacefully. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And you won't send God to kill me. That day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They said, we found water. He called it Sheba, like Shiba Inu. And to this day, the name of the town has been Beersheba. There it is. That's apparently how it happened. However, the well called Sheba is spelled S-H-I-B-A-H, and Beersheba is like the word beer, B-E-E-R, but then it's S-H-E. B-A. Sheba is S-H-I-B-A-H, and Beersheba is S-H-E-B-A. So I don't know why there's a spelling difference, but there is. So that's the end of chapter 26. A strange amount of wells in that one, but, sometimes you just gotta dig some wells, I guess. I don't know what to make of it. See you guys for the next one. Man, I thought I was at the end of the chapter, and I was wrong. It's actually, there's a title, and then like a few sentences later, the chapter actually starts, and I thought those were the same thing. So this is actually the end. In the title, the next section, which the chapter is in the middle of, is called Jacob Takes Esau's Blessing. So it's another famous story. They usually tell it all together at church, but here is how chapter 26 actually ends. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite. Beeri, that'd be a cool name for a wife. Beeri the Hittite. And also Basemath. Oh, he took two wives. Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. So it was Esau. Esau's wives were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. And that is actually the end of chapter 26. Now chapter 27 starts. And I'm going to put this at the end of the video instead of what I thought was the ending earlier.